So for your pumpkin, you're going to need some size 6 plushy yarn in orange, brown, and some green for the stem. You're also going to need a 5.5mm crochet hook, a bobby pin or a stitch marker, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and some fiber fill to stuff it. So take your green yarn and make a slip knot. We're going to start with a chain of 13. Once you have 13 chains, we're going to start by making 2 single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So go into that second chain. We're going to make 1 single crochet stitch and another into the same chain. So that's 2 single crochet into 1 chain, and then in the next chain we're going to make 3 single crochet stitches. So there's 1, make another one into the same chain, and then make 1 more into the very same chain. So we're going to be alternating between 2 single crochet and 3 single crochet in each chain. So in the next chain, make another 2 single crochet into the same chain. 1 and 2. And then in the next chain, make 3 single crochet. So you can see it's starting to curl up on itself. So that's the effect that we want. So keep alternating between 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet, all the way until the end of the row. So once you reach the end of the row, this is what your stem should look like. So it's the same pattern that we used for the tentacles on our jellyfish if you followed my crochet jellyfish tutorial. And at the very end here, just chain 1. And then I'm gonna snip my yarn to about there. It doesn't have to be too long, but long enough that we can tie these two together. And then you can pull your yarn through the chain, tighten it up, and this is our leaf. So now we're gonna get started on the stem. So for the stem, you can start with a magic circle if you'd like, but for this type of yarn, I find it easier to start with a slip knot, then a chain of 2, 1 and 2. And I'm gonna be working into the very first chain as my magic circle. So we're gonna start with 6 single crochet into that very first chain. So once you have your 6 single crochet stitches, we're gonna make 3 more rows of just 6 single crochet. So make your first single crochet of row 2 into that very first single crochet stitch. And this is where you can use a stitch marker so you don't lose your place. That's how we know that that's the very first stitch. And then continue to make 1 single crochet in every stitch all around. So you should still have 6 single crochet stitches. At the end of round 2, I like to just very gently tug on the yarn tail so that the hole is closed. And then just make 2 more rows of just 6 single crochet. So just repeat that same process for 2 more rows. I'm at the end of row 3 and you can see it's starting to curl in on itself like this. So at this point, I like to just flip it back to the right side. You're gonna flip it inside out, but this is the right side right here. And then I'm gonna complete row 4 with my 6 single crochet. And then this loose yarn tail is just gonna be tucked into our stem. Okay, so I'm at the end of row 4. I did 4 rows in total of 6 single crochet, and I'm just tucking my tail into my stem so that it's out of the way. Now for row 5, we're gonna start with 1 single crochet in the first stitch, one single crochet in the next stitch, and now we're gonna increase in the third stitch. So we're gonna make 2 single crochet stitches into that same stitch. So there's one, and then go back into the very same stitch and make another one. And then we're gonna repeat that for our last 3 stitches. So make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochet in the very last stitch. At the end of row 5, you should have a total of 8 stitches. Now for row 6, we're gonna make 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and now we're gonna increase in the second stitch. So we're gonna make 2 single crochet stitches in that very same stitch, 1 and 2. And we're gonna repeat that pattern 4 times so that we get a total of 12 stitches. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And then repeat that one more time. So once you have your 12 single crochet stitches, that's pretty much it for the stem. So I'm just gonna snip my stem to about there. So this is your stem here. So at this point, we're gonna color change to the orange. So we're gonna push our hook through these 2 front loops here. So this is the very last stitch that we made. I'm gonna push my hook underneath the front loop, just that very front loop. And then I'm gonna push my hook underneath this loop right next to it, like that. So you have 2 loops on your hook. And then at this point, you can grab your orange yarn and pull that yarn through those 2 loops. And you can take the brown yarn tail and just gently pull that through. So now you have your orange yarn as your working yarn on your hook. Now we're gonna start the next round with 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase in that third stitch. So 1 single crochet and then another single crochet in the same stitch. And we're gonna repeat that for a total of 4 times so that we get 16 stitches at the end of this round. So 2 single crochet and then increase. Once you reach the end of this round, I'm just gonna pull up a loop really quickly. So you can take your 2 yarn tails that are coming out of the same stitch and just double knot them so that they don't come apart. and then you can tuck those into your stem. So at this point, I'm gonna attach the leaf. So you can take your hook and push it through any stitch between the orange row and the brown row. So between the last 2 rows that we made, just push your hook through there. So you're going from the inside outwards, and your hook should be coming out like this. So at this point, you can take your leaf and grab one of the yarn tails and pull that through the pumpkin with your hook. So you're here. And then we're gonna do that one more time. So take your hook again and then go through the stitch right next to the stitch you came out of. So again, between the orange row and the brown row, push your hook through there, right next to it. Then take your other yarn tail and pull that through with your hook. So your yarn tails should be sticking out like this. And at this point, we are just going to tie these 2 together. So you can double knot them or triple knot them so that they don't come apart. And your leaf is going to be hanging out of your pumpkin like this. And then your yarn tails, you can also push them back into the stem. So that'll be out of the way because we're going to be working like this for the rest of the pumpkin. For the next round, we're going to start with a single crochet in the first stitch. And you can use your stitch marker to mark that off. And then we're going to increase in the next stitch. So make 2 single crochet stitches in that very same stitch. And then we're going to repeat that 8 times. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. Repeat that all the way around until you have a total of 24 stitches. So once you have 24 stitches, we can move on to the next round. And for this round, we're going to start with 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and an increase in the next stitch. So 2 single crochet and then an increase. We're going to repeat that a total of 8 times so that we have 32 stitches at the end of this round. 2 single crochet and then increase in the 3rd stitch. So once you have your 32 stitches, we're going to move on to the next round, starting with 1 single crochet in that first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the 3rd stitch, and then an increase in the 4th stitch. So we're going to repeat that a total of 8 times all the way around. So 3 single crochet and then increase. And at the end of the round, you should have a total of 40 stitches. So at the end of that round, I think this is the end of round 10. This is what your pumpkin is gonna look like. So this is the very top of our pumpkin. So at this point, there's no more increasing. We're just gonna fill the body of the pumpkin and then we'll start decreasing. So to do that, we're just gonna make 1 single crochet in every single stitch. So we're just gonna make 1 single crochet in each stitch for a total of 8 rows. And once you've completed your 8 rows of single crochet, I'll meet you back here to show you how to decrease. So I just finished my 8 rows of single crochet. This is what our pumpkin should look like. So now we're going to start to close it up here. So for the next row, we're going to start with 1 single crochet in the first stitch. One single crochet in the next stitch. 1 single crochet in the third stitch. And now we're going to do what's called an invisible decrease. So to decrease, we're going to push our hook through the front loop only of the next stitch. So normally we go under both loops like this. But for an invisible decrease, we're just going to go through the very front loop like that. And then we're going to do that again in the next stitch. So just go through the front loop of that next stitch like that. So you should have 3 loops on your hook. You can yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And now you have 2 loops left on your hook. Yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops. So that's an invisible decrease. Now a normal decrease, you would go under both loops, but this just helps the project look a lot cleaner. So we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. So make 3 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, 2 and 3, and then an invisible decrease. Go under the front loop, under the front loop of the next stitch, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2 again. So keep repeating that pattern all the way around. So at the end of this round, you should have a total of 32 stitches. So now for the next round, start with 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then we'll make our invisible decrease. Front loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So 2 single crochet and then an invisible decrease. You're going to repeat that all the way around until you have a total of 24 stitches. So once you have 24 stitches, this is what our pumpkin is looking like. So it's starting to close up here at the bottom. And at this point, you can start to add a little bit of stuffing. Make sure you break it into small pieces so that it's easier to shape. You don't have to stuff it too much. In fact, just pretty loosely stuff it like this, because we're still gonna be making our rows and we don't want the stuffing to be in the way. So for the next row, make 1 single crochet in that first stitch. And then we're gonna decrease in the next stitch. So front loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So it's just 1 single crochet and 1 invisible decrease. We're repeating that pattern all the way around until we have 16 stitches left. So once you have your 16 stitches, this is what the hole is going to look like. We only have 1 row left, but at this point you can start to stuff it just a little bit more. And I would stuff this until it's almost full to your liking. So for the very last row, you can take out your stitch marker. And the last row is just going to be 8 invisible decreases. So you can go right into the front loop of the next stitch, front loop of the stitch after that, and complete your first invisible decrease. You can mark that off if you like, but I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep making invisible decreases until I have 8 stitches left. So after I've made my 8 invisible decreases, I have 8 stitches left. And at this point, you just want to make sure your pumpkin is stuffed to your liking. So you can stuff it completely as much as you like. And once you like the way your pumpkin is stuffed, we're gonna fasten off. So I like to fasten off by slip stitching into the next stitch. So I'm gonna go through the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm just gonna pull that first loop through that second loop, and that's a slip stitch. And I just like to chain 1. Now, if you like this rounded pumpkin shape, which I think is really cute, you can just snip your yarn to about there and then just sew your hole closed. For the sake of this video, I'm going to show you how to make the ridges on the side of the pumpkin so that it's a little more flat like this and a little more, I guess, pumpkin-like. So before I snip the yarn, I'm going to make sure I have a very long tail. Hey guys, it's Alina from the future. I'm coming on here to tell you that it's really important that your tail is really long. I snipped like 2 feet, maybe 24 inches of yarn tail, and it wasn't long enough. I had to attach more at the end, which was really annoying, especially if you're a beginner. You don't want that. So just make sure your tail is really, really long so that you can sew all the ridges. So I have a really long tail like that, and I'm just gonna gently pull that through the chain 1. Tighten that up, and to get started with our sewing, you can thread your yarn needle, and we're first going to sew the hole closed. So how I like to sew this closed is by going through the front loop on the next stitch like this, and then I'm going to go through the front loop on the next stitch, weaving out. So I'm going in and out of the stitches, in and out of the front loops. So I'm weaving in and then out. Once you've weaved in and out of all the front loops, you can gently tug on this, and that's going to close the hole shut. Now, to secure this, I'm just going to go through any loop next to where the yarn is coming out of. Pull my yarn through there, but I'm not going to pull all the way. I'm going to make sure to leave a little loop like this, and then I'm going to push my needle through there, and then I'm going to pull that yarn through so that it makes a little knot like that. Now, to make the ridges on the pumpkin, you're first going to take your needle, still threaded with the same yarn, and you're going to go through the space between the brown row and the orange row to make our first ridge. We're going to push our yarn through there, and we're going to come out the very center like this. So pull your yarn through there. This is my yarn here, and you can move it around if you'd like to make sure the ridge is where you want it. And then you're going to pull very firmly so you can see, but you want to pull firmly but not so tight that your yarn will snap. So firmly but not super tight. So that's the first ridge there. And then I'm going to hold that in place with this hand holding the pumpkin. And then I'm going to start my next ridge by again going through the pumpkin between the orange and the brown space, maybe about 3 to 4 stitches over. And then I'm going to come out the very bottom like this. And just gently pull your yarn through, and then you can move your ridge over to where you want it, and then pull firmly but not super tight. There you go. And you can keep holding it in place with this hand. And then again, I'm going to do that all the way around. I should be left with 5 or 6 ridges, and you can count 3 to 4 stitches over, and then just repeat that same process through the top and through the top and through the center. And gently pull through, adjusting the ridge to where you want it. There we go. And I think I'm going to make 2 more ridges. So I'm going to go 3 stitches over and just repeat that same process. And then I'm going to make 1 more ridge right here. So I'm going to go through my pumpkin. My yarn is not, I'm going to say my yarn was not long enough. So you probably want to cut at least maybe 30 inches of yarn. And then just pull your yarn through. So this is my pumpkin with all its little ridges. They don't have to be super perfect. Obviously, pumpkins are not perfect. They're all gonna look different. My yarn was not long enough, so I just have this little tail sticking out of here. I'm just gonna attach another piece of yarn right there, which is very annoying. Just make sure you cut a longer piece of yarn so that you can do these ridges without having to do that. So assuming that your yarn is long enough, like let's say I cut that amount of it. So you're gonna have this piece of yarn hanging out of your pumpkin. You should still be holding it with this hand, and your yarn needle is gonna be threaded. So now we're gonna fasten off the same way we did the first time. So you can literally go through any stitch next to the yarn. So go through any stitch, but don't pull all the way. Make sure you have that little loop there. Push your yarn needle through the loop, and then pull to tighten that hole closed. And it should be all tightened up, but you can fasten off one more time just to make sure it's secure. That's how I like to do it, at least, just for extra security. So go through any loop next to your yarn, and then pull through but not all the way, and make a knot through that loop. And now we're gonna hide our yarn tail, so you can just take your yarn and go back through whatever stitch your yarn is coming out of, and then you can come out of any stitch on the pumpkin, and then just very gently tug on the yarn and snip it close to your pumpkin. And then you can hide that tail back inside the pumpkin. Brush off all your little fuzzies, and there you have your pumpkin, just in time for fall. So if you guys liked this tutorial, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what other kind of tutorials you guys would like to see. If you make this, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see your little pumpkins. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!